Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Fun day today. We have two shows for you. We have a mailbag later on. We're going to get you ready for your drafts. Big weekend coming up. We're going to look at the Draft-a-thon draft, which is not a mock, a real draft that Dave and Jamey and Heath were a part of on Wednesday. And we're going to look at their picks, and we're going to make them justify it. We're going to put them on the class. Hey, justify it. Hey, Jerry Jones, justify it. Of course, we're going to talk about the Michael Parsons trade. Here's a stat of the day that I read on CBSSports.com. Micah Parsons owns the highest pressure percentage in the NFL over the last 4 seasons, 20.3%. In fact, according to CBS Sports research staff, Parsons could go 268 straight pass rushes without getting pressure on the quarterback and still own the highest pressure rate over the last 4 years.
Incredible.
Amazing. Good morning, guys. Happy Friday.
Good morning.
Sorry, Cowboys fans.
You know what, Dave? I think this is best for them. I think this is
Says the Giants fan.
Well, it's best for the Giants too, but they weren't going to win the Super Bowl even with it. They had a horrible defense last year, even with him. They need a reboot, I think. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Obviously I have an opinion.
Reboot with a 30-plus-year-old quarterback who's the highest paid guy in the league.
4 first-round picks in the next 2 years. They could do something with this. But
quick note: are you Jerry Jones or what? You're trying to spin this thing positively.
I think they got a good return. How many non-quarterbacks are getting 2 first-round picks? And Kenny Clark, who's a Pro Bowl defensive tackle. That's a good return.
Are you serious?
I'm not saying it's a good trade.
It's a good return. It's a good return. It's not a good trade, though. You don't give up generational players in their prime over a contract dispute that could have been handled months ago. The fact that every other first-round pick in his draft class got an extension well before he did. In the case of most of these players, well before, because I think Slater was just extended a few weeks ago. But they could have done this so long ago. He dragged this out. The Cowboys dragged this out. I don't want to say Jerry, but the Cowboys dragged this out so long because he wanted to win headlines in June and July and August.
It's the theory,
so
right?
Stupid.
Yeah, look, they keep making that mistake. They're waiting so long to extend these players, and then the price tag just goes up because other guys sign at the same position on other teams, and then they say, hey, I want to beat that guy. I want to be the highest paid. So that does appear to be an issue for the Cowboys. But I just want to give a quick note because yesterday Fab ran in almost all of our FFT open leagues. So I just want to give a quick note on Fab. That was $100 budget. Some people have $1,000 budget, whatever. If you don't have a lot of experience with Fab, just be a little cautious with it. Okay. I wish I had said this yesterday for all the people who are in the FFT Open. I saw a $12 bid. That's 12% of the budget on Dante Thornton Jr. I think you probably could have got him for $0, maybe $1. I saw bids on Amari Cooper for $10, $5, $2. I think maybe you could have gotten him for $0, maybe $1. Rico Dowdle for $4. These dollars, they matter. They really do throughout the course of the season. You're going to get later into the season, you're going to wish you had those dollars back. So if you haven't done Fab, if you don't have a lot of experience with it, really, it's got to be someone that you really think is in high demand for you to lay out really, any significant dollar amount, and got to be in some type of demand for you to do anything other than a $0 bid. Take advantage of your $0 bids, your kickers and your DSTs, unless you really, really want one for a week. You love this matchup. You think it's going to win you the week. Those are often going to be $0 bids. And then if you're a CBS Sports commissioner, and Jamey, I strongly suggest you do this in your leagues. I'm not sure if you do. Enable the full Fab report. It's really fun. You can click on it. Anyone can click on it, and they can see every bid. So you can see just how bad that top bid was. If anybody else bid on that,
you just want to make people feel bad. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun. It's part of the fantasy football experience. I think it's like good trash talk could come out of it. But I also think it can be beneficial because it can give you an idea of maybe what you have to do next time. So if you go to the commissioner tools, enable the full Fab report. It's a lot of fun. Quick get well soon to Thomas Schaefer, who is actually producing today, but he has strep throat. He was out yesterday. He's a hero. He's a warrior for even waking up, and he should be resting right now. But get well soon, Thomas Schaefer. Okay. News and notes, then we'll do the Justify It. we have some news. I want to talk about Jalen Coker. I shouldn't have dismissed him so quickly yesterday. That was wrong on my part. But your thoughts on the Cowboys-Packers trade and what it means for fantasy. And I will just tell you that I looked at bottom 5 defenses last 4 years and how it correlated to pass attempts. Don't draw any conclusions. Now, the Cowboys always throw a lot, so they will throw a lot, even before this trade. But just in general, over the last 4 years, there have been 20 teams that finish bottom 5 in points allowed, right? 5 a year for 4 years. Only 6 of those 20 teams finish top 10 in pass attempts. And I think a big reason why is a lot of them finish pretty low in time of possession. So the Cowboys are different. The Cowboys, 5 years in a row, they've been 4 of the last 5 years, they've been top 5 in pass attempts. It's just what they do. But if you're looking at another team that's going to have a terrible defense, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have a lot of pass attempts. All right, Dave Richard, anything you want to talk about here from a fantasy angle?
Sure. The Packers DST is absolutely worth drafting. I would
top 3.
Them a top. I was going to say top 4. I think I have them 4th, but they're up there for sure. Even though they play the Lions in week 1, kind of a scary matchup. But the genesis of any good DST is their pass rush, and they already had a really good pass rush. And now if it's not the best in the league, it's the second best behind the Steelers.
Oh, excuse me.
It is up there.
The Giants
are really good too. Giants have to prove it just a little bit. They've got great talent. To give you an idea, I grade every pass rush unit in the league. It's part of my fantasy strength of schedule series. The Giants got a 9 from me. Packers have a 10 now. And the Cowboys are down to a 4, the worst in the league. So I think that makes the Packers DST absolutely worth getting. Don't worry about their tough matchup against Detroit in week 1. It will get better. I did move up principles in the Packers passing game. Say that 5 times fast, just a little bit. So Dak is now just behind Baker Mayfield.
Oh, the Cowboys passing game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have said Cowboys.
Say that. That's easier to say 5
That
times.
is easier. I feel like Jerry Jones up here. All right. So Dak is now behind Baker Mayfield. CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 2. George Pickens moved up a couple of spots. I moved him ahead of DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy. Can't help but feel like the Cowboys are going to be in a very pass-heavy mode, a la the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals. If all those guys stay healthy, then we're talking about big volume for all 3 of them. Oh, Jake Ferguson also more on the radar as a top 12-ish type of fantasy tight end. And that's it. I didn't move the running backs anymore because they stink. And I didn't do anything with the Packers offense because I don't know if there's really any reason to. The only guy that we're really reaching for, and it's not even reaching, we love him, is Josh Jacobs. And he's still 2nd-round pick in full PPR, maybe a borderline 1st-rounder in non-PPR because he's a running back. It does make him a little bit more alluring because Packers should be in a much better situation defensively where they're closing games out with Jacobs running the ball.
Anything significant to add, Jamey?
No.
Okay.
No, somebody did bring up something in the chat that if the Cowboys are out of it, do they shut down maybe Dak and the receivers? But yeah, I wouldn't worry about that.
I wouldn't worry about that either. Someone on social media asked me, do you think that like there could be games where they just pull their starters off the field? They're getting their butts whipped so badly, or that their defense is going to be on the field so much that there won't even be enough pass attempts for huge numbers for Lamb, Dak, Pickens. And I'm not going to say that those guys are bust because of that. Like the only way these guys bust now is if the Cowboys defense does play better than expected, their run game is better than expected, and or they get hurt. Anything short of that, and we're looking at high volume for everybody involved in the Cowboys passing game.
Except I would say that they were 18th in scoring last year, 18th in points per game with Dak Prescott. They finished 25th, but with Dak, they were 18th. They weren't really that good. They have no run game. Over the past few years, they've lost their Hall of Fame offensive line stalwarts. People, you look at some offensive line preseason rankings, the Cowboys are toward the bottom. I made this case on a mailbag a couple of weeks ago, and this is before the Parsons trade, right? Obviously. Yeah. This feels like the bottom could fall out for the Dallas Cowboys. They could have really like a reset where they've been a damn good team since Tony.
Oh, this is definitely the reset button.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like when you're talking about drafting CeeDee Lamb 3rd overall, whatever, and George Pickens in the 5th round, maybe. Do we want to attach ourselves to this this circus of a team? Does that come into play at all? And we can end it there. Go ahead.
I don't think you should worry about Dak barring an injury. Now, if you're concerned about the offensive line and leading to some questions, then that's a different story. I think if you're comparing him to, let's say, Dave has him in that Baker, Bo Nix, conversation, I guess. For me, he's behind those guys. But, if you want to, talk about Kyler and Fields and those guys where I have Dak closer to, so if you're debating quarterback, maybe, you go a different direction because you might be concerned that they're going to, as the question was, shut down their guys end of game, end of season. I'd be very surprised, though, if the star power of their offensive ecosystem still is going to just give up, so
they won't.
They still have the opportunity to. You brought this up, I think, with the end of the draftathon, and you made the case for the Dolphins, and I countered. I said it feels more like the Cowboys. Like, who could be the next Bengals? And I feel like this is the type of situation where they have a quarterback that will throw a lot. He's obviously not Joe Burrow. And they have a receiving core that could clearly dominate a lot of games. That, I think, is comparable. And so if they are going to be in these type of scenarios, they're probably going to lose a lot of games, but they're probably still going to be throwing the ball a lot and have a lot of success with it.
All right. It is time for football at BetMGM. Register with BetMGM to get instant access to the best variety of parlay selection features. No sweat and boost tokens, live betting options, and much more. New players can receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets with bonus code FANTASY if they don't win their first bet. You don't want to miss out on any of the hard-hitting action at BetMGM. Place your money line, parlay bets, and more today. BetMGM, make it legendary. And remember, you can use that bonus code FANTASY. All right, Marvin Mims is expected to be ready for week 1. He's playing Tennessee. Jordan Love could have to wear a brace on his thumb for several weeks. I had this thought. You think that would make it? We're banking on a rushing bounce back for Jordan Love because he had the leg injuries last year. I know this is a thumb injury, but do you think this might make him run less because he doesn't want to get hit? Is that a concern for anyone?
Maybe early in the season, if he's still being cautious about it. I will say that the Parsons addition could limit some of Jordan Love's upside if this defense is as dominant as it can be. So maybe you should be a little concerned about that. But in any event, I as long as Love has the ability to be mobile still, leg injuries, notwithstanding, he's going to be better than what he was last year. I don't know if he'll be as good as he was in 2023. And they count on him for 4 rushing touchdowns. I wouldn't necessarily, think that's realistic.
Okay. By the way, I mean, we didn't really talk about Kenny Clark, but he's a very good player, Pro Bowl defensive tackle. The Cowboys are banking on him to make their run defense better and could obviously make the Packers' run defense worse. So think about that for their opponents. Don't like hearing this. Andrew Thomas, Giants left tackle, he is non-committal about when he's going to be back. And as I mentioned this a few days ago, I don't remember when it was, but Bill Barnwell wrote on ESPN that over the last 3 years, the Giants, when with Thomas on the field, have been something like the 21st, 22nd, best offense in football. And with Thomas off the field, they've been 32nd. So it's not great. Hopefully he's back soon. They're at Washington and then at Dallas in weeks 1 and 2, which really exciting matchups. All right, Jalen Coker is going to play the slot for the Panthers. Jamey, you brought him up yesterday. I dismissed him. I should not have done that. He's a big slot, 6'3", 213 pounds. He had 1 drop last year. It didn't even come on American soil. It was a very tough catch. He's a short-handed guy. I'm not counting it. Yeah, anyway, what's the appeal of Jalen Coker? I'll go to Jamey.
Could be huge. 4 games last year with at least 6 targets. 3 of those he scored nearly 14 PPR points per game. So he's going to have an opportunity to be a go-to guy for Bryce Young. He's my second favorite Panthers receiver behind McMillan, and somebody that I would start looking for in that round 8-9 range at this point. He's got a lot of potential here to be a significant playmaker. So it was only a matter of time before he was going to get a chance, because I think based on how Bryce Young likes him and how this coaching staff likes him, and I think that's a big part of why this trade was done, to free up, as Dan Morgan said, to get their young receivers on the field a little bit more. So he didn't make a lot of sense to necessarily play on the outside because I think he's better suited for the slot. And so now that Thielen is gone, he's going to get all those opportunities. So it's going to be a fun situation if you're getting him off waivers. I thought this is where you're actually going with the fab money, because he went for $11 in our podcast league, and so
13 team league.
14, but you know what though, he's well worth it. And the nice thing is, like, I was helping some friends last night on drafts on other sites, and he is buried. So you can find him. I don't know if they don't update their rankings or their projections have not been updated yet, but there's a ton of opportunity here for him.
How much fab, Dave, in a 12-team league for Jalen Coker?
I wouldn't go crazy. 5 maximum. I gotta save that fab for the whole year. We're drafting him with a late round pick, and I'm not going to poo-poo it. He could be fun for sure. I don't know if Bryce Young's the kind of guy that can support 2 wide receivers week in and week out in fantasy.
He's also like an undrafted free agent out of Holy Cross who ran a pretty damn slow 40.
He's more quicker than fast. He wins with size. He can win with physicality.
Yes, does win with size, and he has great hands when he's in America. Chris Godwin's going to miss at least the first month of the season. Tristan Wirfs.
So annoying that they didn't put on public.
It really is. Tristan Wirfs could be back sometime in the first month. When Godwin comes back, do you think he'll be better than Ibuka?
No.
There's definitely that possibility, because he's a proven guy that clearly Baker Mayfield relies on. And this franchise, I know we keep sort of dismissing it. They gave him a 3-year contract extension knowing that this ankle injury was a problem. They could have easily said, we'll give you a 1-year prove it deal or go walk, because we, have the intention of drafting somebody in the upcoming NFL draft. They're still very much invested in Chris Godwin. So could he? Yes. Will he? Probably. I don't think so, just because it's going to take him some time to get ramped up. But middle of the season, wouldn't shock me if he's their best receiver.
Okay.
Last time he was hurt and he came back, it took him over a year to look like his old self. Which happened first? The Bucs signing him to an extension, Godwin having a second surgery on his ankle, or Ibuka getting drafted by the team?
It was extension, draft, surgery.
Right. So first they brought him back before they knew that they could even draft Ibuka. I don't know if they had designs or were sure that they could get Ibuka at 19th overall. And then after they got Ibuka, knowing that he was a piece for the future, I mean, Mike Evans is 31. Then Godwin had another surgery on the ankle. I would be nervous to use solid capital in your drafts on Chris Godwin and expect anything close to what he did last year.
I think that's accurate. But to Adam's question, though, could he be better than Ibuka? The answer is yes.
Will he be better? Obviously he could, but do you think he'll be better?
Be better than Evans, but could.
I think by the end of the season, there is a realistic chance that he is their best receiver.
Yeah, obviously it's a guessing game. Someone asked, who's a better stash, Godwin or Ayuk? I mean, it's definitely Ayuk if you have an IR spot. You don't have to waste the roster spot.
I think that would come down to how many bench spots you have.
Right.
I agree. It's not. Okay. All right. Sorry. Let me move on here. Kendrick Bourne's going to visit San Francisco and Washington. I think Bourne to San Francisco would make a lot of sense right now. Tennessee cornerback L'Jarius Sneed trending toward being ready for week 1 at Denver. Jalen Wright could miss the first month of the season. So Ollie Gordon obviously in play. How much fab in a 12-team league would you spend on Ollie Gordon?
12 to 15.
Yeah, I'd go a lot higher on him than I would on Coker. First of all, I would draft Gordon ahead of Coker. And especially if I had Achane, I would want to make sure I got that dude. So I think Jamey's range is a little too high, but that just might be what you have to do to get a running back. That might matter part of the year, all the year. There are a lot of ways that this could play out in Miami where Ollie Gordon gets a lot of work.
And finally, Minnesota safety Harrison Smith has no timetable for a return. He has a personal health issue. He's going to be fine, thankfully. We don't really know the specifics, but he'll be back. They played one game without him last year, and they gave up 314 yards and 3 touchdowns to Geno Smith. But we don't know if that's really indicative of anything. But he's a good player for them, and hopefully Harrison Smith back soon. They open at Chicago. Hall of Famer, you think, Harrison Smith?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to justify it right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
So what's our schedule looking like after this week, our last week of draft prep? Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a show on Monday. We always have a show on Labor Day. So sorry, guys. But we're working. And then, Tuesday, I'm not exactly sure. We'll probably look at like most added list, stuff like that. Wednesday, we'll break down the Thursday night game. This is what we do every year. Regular season. Wednesday is like a buy or sell trade kind of show with a Thursday night preview. Thursday, we do starter sit for the AFC home games. Friday, we do starter sit for the NFC home games. Saturday, you get a mailbag, which we record on Friday. You'll see that on YouTube on Friday, or you'll hear it on Saturday. Sunday morning, we have a really quick express episode to get you caught up on injuries and things like that. And then Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, go to youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday. We have 90 minutes of starter sit advice. youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday every Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern up until kickoff. And then we have a recap show, which is a podcast, at about 7:30 p.m. All right, let's bring up the Draftathon draft. Dave Richard.
Hi.
Who I named, you can't really see it here, but if you expand, I'm going to expand the screen. Named Dave Smells when I put that in. It's team 3. Lamey Eisenberg is team 4. And then Heath is team 12. Now, if you look at the draft, you might see it says that I'm team 12, but that's only because I had to input all these picks yesterday. I had to claim one of the teams. Oh, you have me.
I asked what funny name you gave Heath Cummings.
I'm sorry. I originally it was team 12. I moved myself to team, what is that? That's Jake Seeley's team. So the one that says Adam Azer is actually Jake Seeley's team, but I gave myself McCaffrey. I just thought it would be right. Heath is team 12. Anyway, let's go pick by pick. And let's start with Dave's team at team 3. Dave, and this can just, some of them can be really quick. Some of them we'll expand on. Dave, Jahmyr Gibbs was the third pick after Jamar Chase and Bijan Robinson. By the way, this is a 3-receiver league, right?
Yes.
Okay. Full PPR, 12 teams, 3 receivers with, the best in the business. Joe Pisapia, Andy Holloway, Dave Smells, Lamey Eisenberg, Scott Fish, Nando DeFino, James On, who donated to St. Jude to be part of this. Jake Seeley's in there, Adam Rank, Heath Cummings. Thomas, if you could scroll over a little bit, I'll give the rest of the names. Marcus Grant, and Eric Young, and that was it. Okay.
Eric Young, the pro wrestler.
Also a big fantasy guy.
Yes.
All right, Dave Richard. So you had the third pick. So Chase goes 1, Bijan Robinson 2. Justify it. Jahmyr Gibbs, number 3.
19 PPR points per game last year in the 14 games with David Montgomery. I almost figured that that's a floor for Jahmyr Gibbs this year. And what's the ceiling? Well, in 3 games without David Montgomery, he was at 32 PPR points per game. And there's always the chance that happens. There's the chance that Gibbs ends up getting more touches this year and Montgomery gets less. We've heard the Lions talk so highly of Gibbs and utilizing him as a pass catcher in their offense this year. I am very bullish on Gibbs potentially being the number 1 running back overall in fantasy football this season. It felt like a borderline gift to take him at 3 overall.
Okay, second round. Just before your pick, you had Chase Brown and Josh Jacobs get taken. Drake London and A.J. Brown were off the board. Both tight ends were available, Bowers and McBride.
Yeah.
You went with T. Higgins. Justify it.
I would have taken a tight end if I didn't like T. Higgins as much as I do. I have come around on him in a big way, but a lot of it has to do with the offense in Cincinnati. The fact that their defense really did not get improved. Should be a high volume passing offense, Lots of touchdowns, good amount of targets for T. Higgins. A little bit worried about the injury with him, but bottom line is I took T. Higgins over the tight ends, figuring that I would have a chance at one of the 2 tight ends coming back to me in round number 3. And if I couldn't get one of those tight ends, then there would be a receiver, somebody like Ladd McConkey, Mike Evans, JSN, that I could take in early round 3, or a running back. Jonathan Taylor was still on the board. Kyron Williams was still there. James Cook, or Marion Hampton was still there, I think. So I know that I would have had a really good player, but I was hoping to get one of those 2 tight ends in round 3.
And I assume you also felt it was important, more important to get that first receiver in this 3-receiver league and take a second running back, right? So
I talk about it all the time. One of the very first thing you should do before you go into a draft is get an idea of how you feel about the top receivers in the league. You should want to get at least one of however many of the elite receivers you think there are in the NFL this year. And I don't know if I can really put T. Higgins in that elite tier, but he's in that next best tier. And that next best tier is even smaller than the elite tier. So he's the best wide receiver that I could have possibly gotten when I was up in round 2. And I was reasonably sure he wouldn't have made it back to me in round 3.
I got this question when I posted our podcast league team, that our first receiver that we drafted was T. Higgins. And then we actually ended up with T. Higgins and George Pickens. And this is just a general question, not just for Dave, but like, do you take into account, and we know how good T. Higgins is, but taking the second receiver on a team when right after T. Higgins went Ladd McConkey and JSN, which are the first receivers on their team. And so does that factor in at all? Like, can you get would you rather have the 1 or the 2?
Well, yeah, I mean, in this case, you got the 2 on a team that should lead the NFL in passing yards, right?
Oh,
I mean,
totally. I mean, I understand why anybody would consider it, but
I did some research on that a few years ago, and I didn't update it. But what I basically found was you were better off taking the number 2 wide receiver on a great offense than the number 1 wide receiver. Certainly on a bad offense, but it's not like we expect the Chargers and Seahawks to have bad offenses per se. But you can get a lot of value with the number 2 wide receiver on a great offense. They get discounted, but they're going to probably score more touchdowns. Anyway, sorry, back to the game here.
T. Higgins averaged 9.1 targets per game last year. McConkey was at 7. JSN was at 8.1. Evans was at 7.9.
Yeah, but I think you got to Azer stat those 2 guys. You got to Azer stat McConkey.
We can Azer stat them all you want. I don't think it's going to be as high as 9.1. Here's a number.
Well, it might be for McConkey down the stretch, and I'm almost certain it would be for JSN post Metcalf, the 2 games that he missed, and then after that.
No, it wasn't for McConkey. I mean, that's the thing. So look at his last 10 games. This is amazing. His last 10 games, he's only on pace for 124 targets. And that's when he really took off. He was on pace for 1,500 yards. Ladd McConkey was unbelievably efficient last year, too efficient. Not going to be able to do it again. But there's a target concern. There was a target concern last year. But, look. Okay, anyway, sorry.
I can look at him, JSN. Jamey, you might be right on him getting more than 9.1 targets per game.
I don't know more. I'd say same range.
All right. Trey McBride was your 3rd round pick. And I think that was probably a pretty easy one because Bowers went at the 2-3 turn. So now you get your top 2 tight end. You could have taken Kyren Williams. Just real quick, why'd you go with McBride?
Because I thought he was the best player available, less the running backs. We talked a little bit about getting players that we haven't really drafted a lot of. In my mind, my plan was to get one of those 2 tight ends if they made it back to me in round 3. And mission accomplished. I got my number 1 tight end. Remember, in full PPR, I like McBride more than Bowers. So I'm happy to take him, have him on a team this year, whereas I've had Kyren on a couple of other teams. A little bit worried about just how much work he will end up getting. I don't think he's a huge factor in the passing game. And in the event that Stafford gets hurt, that whole offense could be in trouble. These are little minor nitpicks. If I was going pure fantasy points in full PPR, yeah, maybe Kyren does get more than McBride over the course of the season, but I think it'll be close.
All right. Dave starts Gibbs, Higgins, McBride. Now round 4 gets pretty interesting, where it's a 3-receiver league, and there's a massive run on wide receivers before this. So you see I
didn't really like that.
I can't see the guy that went just before. Terry McLaurin, I'm guessing. McLaurin, McMillan, Harrison, Sutton, Tyreek Hill. And even before that, it was Adams. So it was Adams, McLaurin, McMillan, Harrison, Sutton, Tyreek Hill. And you're on the clock. And you could have taken R.J. Harvey, Tony Pollard, Chuba Hubbard. But you went with Jamison Williams ahead of DK Metcalf and Garrett Wilson in a PPR league. Justified.
Yeah, that's how I have it ranked. I think there's limitless upside for Jamison Williams. I love the way that he finished last year. I love the way his game improved from year 1 to year 2. He's the poster child for why you pay attention to training camp in the preseason, because all the reports out of Detroit last summer were about how he was a better route runner, a lot more dialed in. Things that I've noticed with Keon Coleman, for example, things that have opened my eyes to Matthew Golden this summer in camp. And when you hear about those things with the receiver, I think you buy in. And I did that last year with Jamison Williams, and he had a hyper efficient year. Didn't even have 60 catches, still had over 1,000 yards, a bunch of huge touchdowns. He's the other player that you hear about this summer in Detroit, taking another step forward. John Morton can't stop talking about him. Same thing with Dan Campbell. I think he's going to be a number 2 receiver this year in fantasy. The other thing was there were a lot of running backs that I kind of viewed the same way when I was up in round 4. So I knew I could get one of Chuba Hubbard, RJ Harvey. I'm not sure which other guys were there, but I had a feeling that I'd be able to get a running back that I'd be okay with my round 5 pick. So I took the wide receiver first.
Tony Pollard, Isaiah Pacheco, DeAndre Swift were also there. And there were some good wide receivers too. There was Metcalf, there was Wilson, there was Xavier Worthy, there was Waddle, but you went with Jamison Williams and Chuba Hubbard with your next 2 picks. So Jahmyr Gibbs, T. Higgins, Trey McBride, Jamison Williams, Chuba Hubbard. Now we are into late round 6. And again, a big wide receiver run just before your pick of Diggs, Pearsall, Odunze, Travis Hunter, George Pickens. And now you're left. Now it's like we're almost outside the top 40, basically. But you go with Matthew Golden.
Right.
With that pick. And then you don't have a quarterback. So I'm a little surprised you didn't take Mahomes. But you go with Golden there. And then the next 4 picks to Andy Holloway and Joe Pisapia are Tyler Warren, Zay Flowers, Deebo Samuel, Patrick Mahomes. And then you go with Keon Coleman in round 7, who's just your guy. But that was your 4th wide receiver. You still don't have a quarterback. So why did you go with Golden ahead of Mahomes? And then going with Golden and Keon Coleman, I guess just those 2 picks in rounds, what was it, 6 and 7? Yeah, 6 and 7.
We need to start 3 receivers in a flex, right?
Yep.
Quarterback is one of those positions where you can kind of pass on them a little bit in exchange for filling the need in your roster. And I think that in a full PPR league like this, there's plenty of upside with both the receivers that I got. And I knew that I'd be able to find something that I would like at quarterback later on. And I did.
Did you okay, when Coleman was picked, David Montgomery was still on the board and he went in round 7. Did you think about taking him, and did the fact that you have Jahmyr Gibbs eliminate Montgomery? Because I think Jamey getting Montgomery in round 7 was a ridiculous value.
No question.
So what did you think? Like, could you take him there even though you have Gibbs?
No, I didn't want to do that. I'm not opposed to that, especially if you're getting Montgomery at a value like this. But the heart wants what the heart wants, Adam.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman had to get taken.
All right.
By the way, I've lost out to Keon Coleman to Lamey Eisenberg, as you wrote in the league, too many times over the last 2 weeks, including a draft yesterday. So I knew I needed to get Keon Coleman before Jamey had 2 shots to get #Keon on his team.
And you're comfortable taking Matthew Golden ahead of Zay Flowers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So after that, Coleman, now that's round 7. So we'll go all the way. We'll swing it around to late round 8. Remember, Dave had the 3rd overall pick, so he's picking late in the even rounds. And you take Travis Etienne as your RB3. Caleb Johnson and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt had just been taken. So you go with Etienne, and then you get your quarterback, Baker Mayfield, in round 9. Justify those 2 picks.
An even better deal on Mayfield in round 9 than Patrick Mahomes would have been for me in round 6. So absolutely thrilled that he fell to me. And I actually gambled that he would make it. I probably should have taken Mayfield over Etienne. But one of the things I love to do when I'm picking 3rd or 4th, really anywhere like toward the ends, but not on the ends, you have to pay attention to what the needs are of those teams that are picking after you and then before you in the following round. And one of those teams took Mahomes, so I knew that they weren't going to take Baker Mayfield. And the other team, it was Joe Pisapia. I believe Joe likes to wait on his quarterbacks as well. So I rolled the dice that Baker would make it back to me in round 9, and I took the running back that I felt like I needed. I needed a 3rd running back, especially since I did pass on Montgomery a couple of rounds earlier. So it's exactly what I did. Worked out perfectly.
At this point, through 9 picks, Dave has Baker Mayfield at quarterback, Trey McBride in round 3 at tight end. Jahmyr Gibbs, Chuba Hubbard are his starting running backs. T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, Matthew Golden, and Keon Coleman are his 3 receivers and flex. Travis Etienne is now his backup running back. I'll just take us through the rest of your draft. You took Bajal Tootin, Tucker Kraft. So you have 2
Jaguars made it back to me, especially given who I was drafting with. Like all these smarty pants fantasy analysts, and they let me get Tootin so late.
Can I Mugatu this a little bit here? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. He is the number 3 running back on the team.
He is today.
They could trade. I mean, is that you're just kind of gambling that they make a trade? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a very realistic chance that we see middle of the season Tootin as the best running back in Jacksonville.
Okay. You might have to be patient there. And then you took Tucker Kraft.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you took a second tight end with McBride. Justify it.
I wanted somebody that had good value that late in the draft, and Tucker Kraft is one of the dudes that I think could have a breakout year.
I don't really understand. Jamey, it's like Jamey was playing in a different draft where the values that Jamey got are just absolutely jaw-dropping. TJ Hawkinson in round 11? Are you serious? I mean, you got Joe Burrow in round 5? It's just crazy. But all right, Dave's final team is Mayfield with Gibbs and Hubbard, Higgins, Jamo, Golden, and Coleman at 3 receivers and flex. ETN and Tootin on the bench with Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford, a very, very nice pick, super late, round 13. And Keenan Allen is your number 5 wide receiver. I don't know. I don't love the team. You're the defending champ. Do you love it? You know what makes me a little nervous is the Golden Coleman combo there. And then with Keenan Allen, like, I understand the appeal independently of both of them, but it's very unproven stuff at wide receivers 3 and 4.
Sure. But I'm hoping that between the two of them, one will step up and be a weekly starter. And if the other one fizzles, then so be it. I can always go to the waiver wire to find another receiver during the year. Maybe Keenan Allen ends up being decent for PPR. He can be a flex for me. I wouldn't count on it, but I'm hopeful that these young receivers step up. In the case of Keon Coleman, 2nd-year leap. Jameson, we saw that from him last year. Maybe he makes a 3rd-year jump. And we talked about it with Tom on the draftathon, the pack ass guy, and all the reports out of Green Bay. Just crazy good things about Matthew Golden.
The thing that I like about Dave's team is he went and he got his guys, so that's always going to be something I think that, you like. You didn't get Tyler Warren, which I'm sure frustrated him, but
I cursed.
I'll go back to the same conversation I had with you, Adam, in regards to taking a second quarterback when you invested in one of the top 5 guys. Like, the Tucker Kraft pick could easily work out if he's a superstar and you play him as a flex. He could easily work out if you trade him. But just looking at what I think you could have used there, and whatever receiver you want to put in that spot, I would have taken a shot on another receiver. Like even if you wanted to play the friendship strategy, you could have taken Khalil Shakir, and you potentially have the best Bills receiver locked up.
Yeah, or you could have taken like another handcuff running back, like a Trey Benson or a Ray Davis or something like that. But yeah, you like Tucker Kraft, and you went for that. But all right, I think kind of a sneaky thing with Jahmyr Gibbs, he is awesome, is that you really can't handcuff him. It's right. Is he the only first round running back? Yeah, I don't know that you can really handcuff Derrick Henry. I'm not sure if he has one, but
well, that's the thing. Like, a lot of these guys, you can handcuff Saquon Barkley to Will Shipley. You can handcuff Christian McCaffrey to Brian Robinson. All it does is guarantee you a starter in place, but it's not going to replace that production. Like, right, not even close in those examples.
I will say, for everybody drafting this weekend, just heard something yesterday that the Eagles are apparently sniffing around other running back rooms.
Yeah, Audric Estime went there.
Maybe better than that.
Oh, all right. We will be back after this.
Like a more proven backup than what they have right now.
Okay, we'll be back after this with Jamey's team on Fantasy Football Today. Okay, so we'll do Jamey's team. He picked 4th, but I also want to do a couple teams later in the draft to give people sort of a sense of how to build a team from different spots. So Jamey's team, you took CeeDee Lamb 4th overall. I'm not going to make you justify that because I know he's your number 3 overall player. So
I didn't really have to do much this draft. It's just kind of like, okay, yeah, he's there, sure. Okay, great. Yeah, I'll take him. Fine. All right, cool. Thanks.
I can't believe, and I just can't believe some of the value that was there for you. It's crazy. But all right, in round 2, you took Josh Jacobs, and then in round 3, you took Kyron Williams. So you go with a running back heavy start. 2 of your first 3 picks are running backs. But my first question is, in round 2, why didn't you take Brock Bowers?
I have Jacobs ranked ahead of Bowers, And I had this conversation with a friend last night who was asking what they should do with the 4th overall pick as well. And the debate for this particular person was Jahmyr Gibbs versus CeeDee Lamb. And I said, I love both. I have no problem with whoever you want to go with. I have Lamb ranked ahead of Gibbs, mostly on the reasoning of what's available to you in round 2. So when you get to round 2, if you like the combination of Gibbs and Higgins, it's great. I personally like the combination of Lamb and Jacobs or Brown or Taylor or Bucky better. And so I go with that mindset of who I take at that 3-4 spot. So for me, it was I'm taking CeeDee Lamb and I'm definitely taking Jacobs. And then it just becomes the sliding scale. So I like Jacobs better than the tight ends personally.
Now, just to throw this out there, if you were someone you're listening to what Jamey just said, but you don't want to take Lamb, you want to take Gibbs and Josh Jacobs, or Gibbs and Chase Brown, or Jonathan Taylor, whatever. Can you go running back? Absolutely, you can. We like to get one of the top 8 to 10. Maybe we extend it to Drake London, where we like to get one of those wide receivers. But if we can't, we're fine with that. You can do whatever the hell you want. We can make it work. You can make it work.
I think to that point, Adam, and sort of circling back to the Higgins versus McConkey versus JSN, you can definitely go Gibbs, one of those running backs. And if you're perfectly fine with all those guys in the same tier, which is how I have it, I think they might be similar. But if you have Higgins, JSN, McConkey, or for me, it's Higgins, McConkey, JSN, in that next tier or whatever tier of guys, you can do that. And then if you're just playing out average draft position on our site, there's a chance Drake London and AJ Brown are there too. So
yes,
you can go Gibbs and get one of those wide receivers if that's the route you want to go also. So it's just, again, how you think you want to plan it. For me, I always go, especially with our analyst drafts, I typically anticipate those top 9 receivers, because AJ Brown's now 10 and somewhat falling. Those top 9 receivers to be gone.
Oh, it's really dangerous to do this, to just take a few drafts from your own personal experience and make it a generalization. But I am starting to see AJ Brown really fall to even the 3rd round sometimes. And I'm starting to see Tyreek Hill, including in this draft, fall to almost the late 4th round. So
I think, though, the recent news for both of those receivers may sort of stabilize their ADP a little bit, because Brown returned to practice and Hill's now expected to practice. So
if people know that,
those red tags may be gone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you're right. Okay. All right. So anyway, Jamey goes Lamb, Josh Jacobs. You take Kyron Williams over Travion Henderson in round 3. Show some restraint there. But you could have so the Higgins, McConkey, JSN tier was off the board. Bowers and McBride were off the board. So you take Kyron Williams, justify it.
I still think, despite the report that we got yesterday in regards to Mike LaFleur saying that they want to reduce his touches, I think Heath explained it best. If you take away 2 or 3 touches per game for him, he was top 3 in total touches each of the last 2 seasons at running back. So now maybe he goes to 5 or 6. Well, we're still drafting him as the top, as a 10 through 12 running back. So circle back to our ADP conversation a couple of days ago where he was going 18, 19. Again, I think that's a little bit too soon. Back end of round 1, early part of round 3, I think that's certainly a good spot for Kyron Williams. So if you are sold on Hampton or Cook or Henderson, because I think that's the next trio for most people that I see at least, then absolutely go a different direction. Go with the player you think is more upside. I still think Kyron has just as much upside as those guys and some of the handful of guys in front of him. And so to get him as my number 2 running back, to get him in, start of the middle of round 3, like I'm more than happy with that.
Question for both of you. Is it too soon to take Mike Evans where Jamey took Kyron Williams, 3.4?
In a vacuum, no. With the players that are on the board, yes. So I would rather have, personally, I'd rather have Hampton, I'd rather have Cook, and I would rather have Henderson too.
I would take Evans over Henderson, and you could justify taking Evans over those other running backs if you're just so focused on getting a wide receiver. You don't want to miss out on getting a wide receiver that you would tolerate to be your wide receiver 2. What if your first 2 picks were running backs and now you're up in round 3 and Omarion Hampton is staring you in the face, and that would be awesome to have him, but then you're going to have 3 running backs and no wide receivers in a 3 receiver full PPR league? I don't know. That's the best way to go about things. So you could justify taking Evans at that point.
Man, he was the number 5 wide receiver per game last year, down the stretch after the Chris Godwin injury. Jalen McMillan in that stretch was the number 26 wide receiver per game, but that was mostly because of touchdowns. He was only on pace for 87 targets. So, all right. Anyway, a little too early, I guess, for just generally speaking for Mike Evans there. So Jamey goes Lamb 4th overall, then Jacobs in round 2, then Kyron Williams. And I'll just remind everyone, 3 receiver, full PPR, 12-team league. Tyreek Hill was part of that big wide receiver run that was Adams, McLaurin, McMillan, Marvin Harrison, Cortland Sutton, and then you took Tyreek Hill. Are there any receivers that went before him? How many of the receivers that went before him in that stretch of Adams, McLaurin, McMillan, Harrison, and Sutton would you have taken ahead of Tyreek Hill?
Not one.
Okay. So you loved that pick.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You took him over Burrow. And I know you got Burrow in the next round, but you couldn't have felt great about getting Burrow. Oh, but Hurts was available too. Only three quarterbacks are off the board. Did you give any thought to quarterback in round 4 when you took Tyreek Hill?
If Tyreek had been off the board, if Tyreek and Sutton had been off the board, I'm sorry, if you want to go the whole list of receivers, if Tyreek, Adams, and Sutton would off the board, I would have taken Burrow over everybody that went after him without hesitation.
And you would have taken Burrow over Hurts?
I like Burrow over Hurts in 6 points for passing touchdown leagues, yes.
All right. So look, analyst leagues, man, quarterbacks go really late. Jalen Hurts went in the 6th round. Joe Burrow went in the 5th round. All right. So Jamey takes Tyreek Hill in round 4. That gives him Lamb and Tyreek, Jacobs and Kyron Williams. And then he takes Burrow in round 5. So that was an easy pick for you. I'm not even going to make you justify it. Okay. Round 6 comes around and Rashee Rice is the first pick of round 6. Then 2 more picks. It's Judy. Then it's Diggs, Pearsall, Odunze, Hunter. I'm very surprised that Pickens had not been picked at that point. So, Dave, you took Golden next. How much did you want Pickens?
I would have given my foot. Come to my office, chop off my foot, and give me George Pickens. Yet another draft where Jamey Stinkin' Eisenberg snipes me on a player. But honestly, Pickens should have gone at least like 5 picks ahead. Like Jamey got really lucky to have him fall into his lap here because some of these other receivers, like Travis Hunter, we're all excited about him. Same thing with Odunze. No way those guys should go ahead of George Pickens. Diggs, no way at all should he go ahead of George Pickens. And especially now, this draft was done before Parsons was traded, but we really felt like Dallas was going to throw a lot anyway. Just the opinion on Pickens has gone nothing but go up. And circling back to something I said earlier, what have the camp reports been like on George Pickens ever since it started in Dallas? Just tons of highlights, big plays every day. I've talked to friends who have been at that practice. They are all swooning over George Pickens. This was maybe the best pick in the entire draft.
The best Pickens the entire draft.
Yeah,
George, I think you've got
it. Wait, can you guess the best Pickens the entire draft? Okay, there we go.
Oh, good. That really made it awesome.
All right, you take Pickens. Now you have 3 receivers, Lamb, Hill, Pickens. You have Burrow, you have Jacobs and Kyron Williams. Not really sure why we're playing this league out. David Montgomery was your next pick. Okay, so after you take Pickens, we get Golden, Tyler Warren, Zay Flowers, Debo, Mahomes, and Keon Coleman. And then you take David Montgomery. So was that just best player available at that point?
I would have taken Montgomery or I took Pickens if he wasn't there.
Did you? I guess at that point you have your two running backs and your 3 receivers. So now it's a PPR league and you have a flex spot to fill. Did you have a preference running back versus wide receiver? You ended up going with the running back in Montgomery.
He was just too good at this point to pass on. Like, obviously, I would prefer a high-end receiver to be my flex. But the fact that I took a quarterback in the first 5 rounds, which is not something I'm usually apt to do. I wrote the recap for the story. Like, it just was like, okay, he's here. Why is he here? This player, like, I can't pass on him. It's just too good.
He was the number 15 running back last year in this per game, 15th per game last year in PPR.
There was one player in this draft that I felt like I reached for. And we're going to get to him next because it's the one player that I reach for in every draft. And it just was like, okay, Lamb, easy for me there. Jacobs, relatively easy. Kyron, okay, we're starting to get to the point where he's slipping a little bit. Tyreek, we're slipping a little bit. Burrow should never go this late, but like you said, it's an analyst draft. Pickens, very late. Dave just said best pick of the draft. We'll see if that plays out. Montgomery's usually at worst a round 6 pick. He's sitting here around 7. Everything just kind of fell the right way, and it doesn't mean that's going to work out. Like you say, why are we playing this out? That's crazy. But this is just how you kind of like a draft to fall, where it's like you don't have to make a lot of tough decisions.
Yeah. So my question so Pickens and Montgomery were super easy picks to make.
So was Burrow.
He by the way, and so was Tyreek Hill, has been RB 15 per game in PPR 2 straight years. Okay, so I don't think he's going to be that high because I think we're all hoping for more work for Gibbs, but you're still like, he's such great value. Okay, anyway, at this point, you've got everything but your tight end. So what are you thinking at tight end now with 7 picks in the books, a quarterback, 3 running backs, and 3 wide receivers on your team? What are you thinking you're going to be doing at tight end? You're certainly not thinking, well, I'm going to get TJ Hawkinson in round 11, which is what happened. But I guess at this point, what is your thought process?
So once we got to, so we're through Montgomery at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so once we're through Montgomery, if you see the draft board, everybody going down. So I'm sorry, going up, I guess, going to the left, has a tight end. Picks 1, 2, and 3. So I know as I'm coming back the other direction, I can now wait a little bit that way. So I get to see what the rest of the board is doing the other direction. And Dave sort of alluded to this as well when he was talking about quarterbacks. Like, I know already Bowers round 2, McBride round 3, Warren round 6. Like, those guys are probably not going to invest in a tight end anytime soon. So if you scroll across the other direction, now I'm sort of just watching and seeing who's taking tight ends the other way. So we don't get until, if I'm not mistaken, Kelsey's, or I don't know where Laporte is. So
he went in the 5th round to Marcus Grant, team 11.
Okay, so Laporte is off the board at this point as well. So at this point, I know my number 4 tight end is still there. My number 5 tight end is still there because I moved both Njoku and Kelsey ahead of Laporta. Ingram is still there. Kraft is still there. Hawkinson is still there. And then it's the jumbled mess of who can I sort of cobble this together with. And it just kept, they just kept falling. So every time it's coming back the other way, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take a tight end. And then when it got to the point of, if you want to skip ahead to where I got Hawkinson around 11, I kind of had a feeling that when both those guys were on the board, somebody might take a second tight end.
Both those guys being who? Kraft and Hawkinson?
Meaning Joe, Pisapia, Andy Holloway, and Dave. The one that really concerned me the most was Andy because, again, Dave and Joe getting Bowers and McBride, I didn't think that they needed a second tight end, but, maybe you want to pair somebody with Warren, which makes some sense. So it was like, okay, when it got to that point and it was Kraft and Hawkinson, when I took Darnell Mooney in round 10, at that point, I knew when it comes back around to me, I'm taking my tight end. And so Dave took Kraft. I have Hawkinson ranked ahead of Kraft. I would have been happy with either one. So it worked out as good as it possibly could.
See, you go Lamb, Jacobs, Kyron, Tyreek Hill, Burrow, Pickens, Montgomery. That's your first 7 picks. Braylon Allen, who's the guy you reach for in every draft, in round 8. Christian Kirk in round 9. When you took Christian Kirk, that's probably where I would have taken a tight end. And I would have been wrong because it worked out perfectly for you, but I probably would have taken Hawkinson or Njoku there.
So I'll tell you why I took Kirk there. One, it was to see how far Njoku would fall because at that point, again, he's still, I don't know how people value him per se. And you see where I took Kirk. Kelsey had already come off the board. So now we're 6 tight ends in, right? 5 tight ends in because Laporta's off the board. So I wanted to just kind of see, if
Warren was off the board too.
So it's 5 tight ends, right?
No, well, 6 or 7. At what point? When you took Kirk?
Where I took Kirk?
When he took Kirk, I think it's 6 because Kittle was off the board.
Oh, sorry, Kittle.
Kittle, Laporta, Tyler Warren, and Travis Kelce.
Sorry, Kittle's off the board. So we're 6 tight ends in.
7.
The reason I took Kirk was because I wanted to see which tight ends would fall. And,
6. You were right. I sit here correcting you saying 7, but it's 6. My bad.
And as much as I love Pickens, this is not a Pickens conversation. It's the fact that I have Lamb and Pickens. I wanted to give myself one more receiver that I like that I think I could start if I need to, and another flex option that I may need to start as well. Because Braylon Allen, I probably have to wait on before I'm starting him. I think that's realistic. And so Kirk to me has top 30 upside. He could be a flex easily in a 3-receiver league. And if the Pickens-Lamb combination goes south because of a Dak injury, for example, I have a receiver that I can rely on a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, you know what? It's a good point. You really, in a 3-receiver full PPR league of 12 teams or more, you definitely want to have a good wide receiver 4. I've been burned by just having, not good enough receiver depth. There's one injury, and then you're really scrambling. So you took Christian Kirk. I'll speed it up and just say after Kirk, he took Darnell Mooney, he took TJ Hawkinson, he took Brian Robinson,
Another gift at that point.
Yeah. That's the handcuff for McCaffrey. Romeo Dobbs, Xavier Legette, Jake Bates. Did you give any thought to taking Blake Corum because you had Kyron Williams?
Not at that point. Following the report, yes. Then I would have probably considered over Legette, and I did consider a second tight end, and it went right before me was Kincaid. So Kincaid was somebody I was going to draft at that point.
All right, so Jamey picking out of the 4 spots going to start Joe Burrow, Josh Jacobs, and Kyron Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, and David Montgomery at flex or Christian Kirk, with Braylon Allen and Brian Robinson on the bench, and Darnell Mooney, and Romeo Dobbs, Xavier Legette, and of course he has TJ Hawkinson at tight end. I'll jump over just to Jake's team, which if you're watching says Adam Azer, but this is Jake Seeley's team. But Christian McCaffrey, Brian Thomas Jr. would have been a pretty damn Adam Azer start. So I don't really have to justify that. I think Brian Thomas Jr. was the last of the top 8 wide receivers. So that was a slam dunk, easy pick. I would not have taken Kamara in round 3, but if you want me to justify it, I would have taken Evans there for sure. So Evans would have been the pick there in round 3 at 3.9, but he took Kamara. I can justify it by just saying that as long as he just keeps being Alvin Kamara on which is not an efficient running back, but gets a ton of catches, he's actually going to smash that ADP. We're obviously concerned about that though. Would I have taken Evans or Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels? That's the question. I would have taken Evans. Maybe in a 2-receiver league, I would have taken Lamar or Daniels, but in a 3-receiver league, I would have built out that receiving core. So he goes Kamara, McCaffrey.
Well, I guess the question would be would you have taken Kamara with the intent of hoping one of those 3 quarterbacks came back to you?
Right.
No, actually. So Josh Allen was
you had 4 quarterbacks could have come back to you. So yeah, you could have had one easy.
That's true. Josh Allen was off the board. I don't think I would have anticipated Lamar or Daniels coming back to me, especially with Heath picking 12th and knowing he's going to take Jaden Daniels. So then the question, all right, let's back up. McCaffrey, Brian Thomas Jr. We're in a 3-receiver league. Evans is probably my favorite pick in the 3-receiver league. In a 2-receiver league, I don't think I go quarterback there. Do I go Kittle there? That's the question. What do you guys do? I'm saying my best options, I don't like the running backs, right? We get this run of Kyron, Travion Henderson, James Cook, Omarion Hampton, Ken Walker. I would have gladly taken 4 of those 5 guys at 3.9. Not Walker, but I would have taken Kyron, Travion, Cook, and Hampton. So they're off the board. Only 1 quarterback's off the board. What do you do with this pick? I'm saying my best options are Lamar Jackson, Mike Evans, and George Kittle. What would you guys have done at 3.9?
Evans.
Okay, now make it a 2-receiver league.
Evans.
Full PPR still?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Kittle. Kittle in both cases.
I say Evans in 3-receiver and maybe Kittle in 2, but
I would have taken Kamara in 2 if it's full PPR.
Oh, okay.
Because look at all the receivers that went in round 4. There are way more of those guys that I would have been okay with as my wide receiver 2. And I'd like to have some of those guys potentially as my wide receiver 3 in a 3 wide receiver league. So just the fact that it's a 3 wide receiver league that pushes Evans up for me a little. It's close between those 2, but I feel like maybe Evans could have made it back to me in round 4. And if he didn't, then Devontae Adams could have, McLaurin could have, there's Marvin Harrison could have. Like I would have been okay with those guys in round 4.
I know why you chose Jake's team.
Why? Checo. Yeah, that's awesome. I like Jake's team. I wish Kamara had been Mike Evans, and then he took Devontae Adams in round 4. That could have been RJ Harvey, maybe. Although I probably would.
Burrow.
Yeah, I would have taken a quarterback there. I would have taken Burrow. The funny thing is, he could have taken Hurts in round 5. I can't.
Oh, you also might. You would have taken Tyreek Hill in round 3.
Tyreek Hill in round. You know what? I think Evans over Hill makes sense now.
So so that's fine. I agree with you on that. Would you have taken the quarterback or Tyreek Hill in round 4?
Tyreek, you're right. I would have taken Tyreek.
Yeah, you could have had, if you were Jake, you could have had McCaffrey, Thomas, Evans, Tyreek.
Actually, no. I don't think I would have taken. I would not have a 29-year-old running back coming off an injured season, a 32-year-old wide receiver coming off a season where he missed 4 games. And
it's not like you've done that already once.
And Tyreek Hill.
No, you only done it with McCaffrey, Hill, and James Conner. I mean, there's no risk there.
But Conner wasn't my 4th round pick. He was my 5th round pick in a 14-team league. He was not the 40th overall pick. So in all seriousness, I wouldn't put that much risk in my first 4 picks, that much age in my first 4 picks. I would have taken Burrow in that scenario over Tyreek Hill. But if you were just giving me like based on like ranking, yeah, I think you're right. I think Hill and Evans would have been on that team, but I think got played a little safe. All right, I don't think we need to go through the rest. Jake did a really good job balancing running backs and wide.
I think just real quick, because you could see Jake's team and you can check it out. Heath's team is interesting if you just want to go quickly through it.
Nico Collins, Devon Achane, Jaden Daniels, George Kittle. He had the 12th pick, so he's picking at the turn. Nico and Achane, Jaden Daniels, George Kittle. In a 3-receiver league, he has 1 wide receiver in his first 4 picks.
And 1 wide receiver through his first 6 picks that he could start in the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yes.
He talked about this yesterday. I did not like the team.
I got to run.
Okay. So Nico Achane, Daniels, Kittle. Can you make this work in a 3-receiver PPR league by taking a quarterback and a tight end early, which he does at 36 and 37 overall with Daniels and Kittle? Then he goes DeAndre Swift at 60.
That's the pick where I think you want to go receiver.
Well, what if he takes, Swift's a good pick, but what about, he takes Rashee Rice at 61. Why not take Jerry Jeudy there?
So okay, if you want to replace Rice with Jeudy, that's fine.
Yes.
But knowing that he has 1 receiver in a 3-receiver league, and he loves Achane, and we hope Achane's fine, because if Achane's fine, then 13.1 is perfect for him. I think you go, and I guess let me back up. If you want to take Rashee Rice, right, and he said this, he knew if he doesn't take him there, he's not getting him. I think you got to give up the running back and you go Jeudy and Rice.
Jeudy and Rice, okay, but I think I'd rather go Jeudy and Swift.
Because if you play it out the way it worked for him, if you tell me that your second starting running back is Tyrone Tracy, the way that it worked for him, like, that's fine.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy was a good pick. So I think what gets me is like pick 84 was Jacoby Myers. Now I don't know how people feel about that, but he just didn't have good receiving options at the end of round 7. Now, ADP tells a different story. I think in your home league, it would not surprise me if Emeka Egbuka or Ricky Pearsall were actually available at the end of round 7. I think Keon Coleman will definitely be available at the end of round 7. I think, who else? I think Deebo Samuel and Chris Olave could easily be there. He just is in a league with analysts, which is very receiver heavy. It's a 3-receiver league. So Jacoby Myers being his wide receiver 3, but then really his wide receiver 2 because he has Rashee Rice. I didn't love it. He says he's fine with it. He likes Jacoby Myers. So Nico Achane, Daniels.
No, that's his second receiver, though. That's the problem.
No, I said that right. Nico Achane, Daniels, Kittle, Swift, Rice, Jacoby Myers, Tyrone Tracy.
Now
you got a little bit of a gift there, I think, with Tracy.
Agreed. Now he may dominate quarterback if Daniels does what he thinks he's going to do. He's his number 1 quarterback. He may dominate tight end, certainly more so than almost 9 other teams. And his number 1 receiver and number 1 running back could be in the conversation to be best at their positions too.
Yes.
But he could have 2 holes in his lineup though.
I really want to play this team week 1 because he's got Achane who may not play. He's got Luther Burden who we're not starting. He's got Rashee Rice, Jacoby Myers. He's got Jawan Jennings who's probably not going to play but hasn't been ruled out. And he's going to have to start Wan'Dale Robinson. He also has Tajay Spears who's going on IR. So it's a risky team.
Right. He may by the end of the season be the best team by far.
Yeah. Starting lineup of Daniels and Kittle, Achane and Swift, Nico, at some point Rashee Rice.
Well, Nico, Myers,
Nico Myers-Wandale.
Well, he said Wandale would be in his lineup. He started 2 Giants in week 1.
I mean, Wandale, with starting out with Wandale against the Commanders and the Cowboys could be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a risky team. I honestly think we talk all this about builds and your favorite builds. You can make anything work if you draft the right players. I mean, I was in a home league draft last night, super casual, like too many auto picks, a lot of bad picks. Like I think James Conner went 25th, Aaron Jones went 37th, that kind of thing. But if you're in leagues like that, don't even worry about the builds. Just grab the best players. A lot of you out there are going to be in leagues like that. They're going to have some.
You know what Heath should do? He should make me a trade offer of George Kittle for George Pickens and TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, I don't think he's going to do that.
I don't think he's going to do it either, but I can hope.
What do you think about this trade offer? Last night, I drafted Bijan Robinson in round 1 and A.J. Brown in round 3.
Okay.
I want to trade them for Jahmyr Gibbs and Puka Nacua. What do you think?
Tell me again.
I'd give up Bijan and A.J. Brown for Gibbs and Puka.
Yes, I'd rather have your side.
You'd rather have Gibbs and Puka?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might make this trade offer.
I made a bad trade offer. I made a bad trade yesterday because I was gambling. So it was a 10-team dynasty league. I just won the league last year. This is the team, if you recall, I dropped almost the entire roster 2 years ago. Prior to the draft, remember me telling you this?
Not really. No.
I inherited the worst team. I traded the last 2 players of significance to get the 2nd overall pick in the rookie draft. So my first 2 picks to start my team were Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Nice.
And then got Rashee Rice, got Puka Nacua, traded Jaden Reed for Trey McBride when Reed was hot last year and McBride was off to a slow start. My team is just ridiculous. So I have nobody really to drop. And I wanted to, there were 3 players in the rookie. There was 1 player in the rookie draft that I wanted to get specifically. And it was Bashal Tutin in round 2 from something that I heard yesterday. So I made a trade to clear out some players on my roster. Remember, 10-team, 1 quarterback dynasty. So I traded Josh Downs, Jerome Ford, and Darnell Mooney for a round 3 pick and a round 4 pick in the rookie draft.
Josh Downs, Jerome Ford, and Mooney for rounds 3 and 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Mostly just clear out space on my roster.
Okay.
So first round, I have the 10th pick. Matthew Golden falls to me. Easy. No question. Take him out, Matthew Golden. Second round, Tutin goes right in front of me. So pissed. So I take Ollie Gordon with the last pick in the 2nd round. And then now I'm stuck with the 3rd and 4th round picks. And I'm not getting players as good as Josh Downs or Darnell Mooney in my
opinion. Can you offer them for Tutin?
Huh?
Can you offer them for Tutin? You think that would work?
I could probably make a trade for Tutin.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, but I was so pissed.
That sucks. It's such a bad feeling. All right, man. Good show. Good preseason. Everyone have an awesome weekend. We got a mailbag coming up in a little bit. And 1 p.m. Eastern, we're recording that if you want to watch it live. And you'll hear it on Saturday. And then we'll be back on Monday with some week 1 prep and also some draft prep because people are still drafting next week. Have a great weekend. Take care.